Why does Jay Nakamura hate Dreamer, and is he responsible for the death of Dreamer? Do John Kent, Superman, and Jay Nakamura break up? Is this the absolute power grab of Amanda Waller? Does Harley Quinn actually put her psychiatry skills to use? And will Catman and Deadshot finally kiss? Well, buckle up as we cover the events of the Suicide Squad Dream Team and the 2025 Secret Six series written by Nicole Maines, as well as touching on the preceding Absolute Power event with a heavy focus on John Kent Superman, Jay Nakamura, and Near Now Dreamer. Content warning/trigger warnings, mentions of child abuse and mass genocide, suicide, and sexual assault. Who is Nicole Maines? Nicole Maines, she/her pronouns, is a writer, actor, and trans rights activist who is also trans. Nicole Maines' debut acting role was in an episode of Royal Pains in 2015. Great medical show. Love it. Great setting. Phenomenal actors. Anyway, soon after, Nicole Maines voiced Osa in Rainbow Six Siege. Then in 2018, Nicole Maines was cast as Near Now, aka Dreamer, heading into Supergirl Season 4, and played the character in 61 episodes of the Supergirl show across 3 seasons, as well as appearing as Near Now in DC's Legends of Tomorrow as part of the Crisis on Infinite Earths event, and the year after Supergirl finished, appeared in an episode of The Flash's 9th and final season. Nicole has openly admitted that the show was her gateway into comic books, not having read the medium prior to being cast. Post-Supergirl Dreamer roles for Maines have also included a 4-episode stint on Good Trouble, terrible show title, phenomenal show content with tons of queer representation, and had a frequently recurring role in Yellow Jackets. Maines released an autobiographical memoir titled It Gets Better, Except When It Gets Worse, and Other Unsolicited Truths I Wish Someone Had Told Me in 2024. Maines has embraced comic book writing, bringing her character of Dreamer to the page, first with short stories and anthologies like DC Pride, then with a co-writing guest stint with Tom Taylor on issues of Superman, Son of Kal-El. Nicole Maines then wrote a young adult novel, Bad Dream, A Dreamer's Story, drawn by Ry Hickman, that revealed Dreamer's comic book origin. Nicole Maines also started writing a free online webtoon called Truth Man, created by Adam Huss, chronicling the rise of a teen, heroic avenger of the same name, as he traverses an apocalyptic world run amok with monsters who were once humans that let their fear and anger over the others in society fester until their ugliness overtook their outsides. Truth Man is the only hope for the humans that remain, an ally to those regarded as living on the fringes of society, at a time when one is needed the most. Nicole Maines has also starred in a horror movie currently in post-production called 6 Till Midnight. Near Now, better known by her alias as Dreamer, began as an original creation for the CBS and CW Arrowverse show Supergirl for the show's last 3 seasons and crossover episodes with The Flash and Legends of Tomorrow. Dreamer is a character with dream-based powers, not just to predict the future in a dream state, but able to generate blasts and shields with dream energy. Leading up to Supergirl's final season, Nicole Maines was concerned that the important representation Near Now represented to young trans people would fade away once the show concluded, and went to meet with DC Comics headquarters. In an interview with Comics Beat, she said that she told DC, "Hey, this is the first trans superhero on television. She means a lot to a lot of people. She's really cool. People have really attached themselves to her, who aren't even in the community, and people love her, and she's cool. Is there a plan to bring her into the comics and keep that story alive?" And there wasn't. So I had gone in and I had pitched this whole ongoing series, which really demonstrates my fundamental lack of understanding of how comic books work, because I really just thought I was going to roll up and this character who has no history was going to be given an ongoing. To quote an interview Maines did with AIPT, "I think it's important for Dreamer to be in the DCU now because she's needed. Likewise, in the comic, she's showing up because she is urgently needed. We are seeing an unprecedented level of anti-LGBTQ sentiment, but specifically anti-trans legislation here in the States and everywhere, of course, specifically targeted at queer children. To be able to give those children a superhero who is powerful and smart and important and beautiful and trans is invaluable at this point." DC were receptive and went, "Well, we need an addition for our DC Young adult graphic novel line, specifically a story about sisters," to which Nicole responded, "Well, Dreamer has an infamous sister," to which DC shocked Nicole by asking her if she wanted to write it, to which Nicole was like, in a paraphrased way, I don't think you understand. I brought you the idea to take and run with. I wasn't asking to write it." She eventually agreed to take a crack in early 2020, and Bad Dream, a Dreamer story by Nicole Maines, was published in 2024. In an AIPT interview, Maines said, "It's difficult writing queer heroes because you want to simultaneously do their identities and their struggles and their lives justice, while at the same time, you're not trying to make them a caricature of themselves, or you're trying to avoid putting it in a place where it doesn't make sense." Near Now in the comics is an ancestor of Legion of Superheroes member Neuronal. The Legion of Superheroes are a 21st century coalition of young superpowered aliens dedicated to protecting people and social reform through inspiring the galaxy with the legends of superheroes like the time of old, also, or the present point in history. In July 2022, Nia appeared in Superman Son of Kal-El issue 13, making her debut within the main DC Comics continuity, an issue co-written by Nicole Maines and Tom Taylor, with Nia subsequently appearing in Superman, Son of Kal-El, issues 14 and 15, also written by Tom Taylor. I strongly suspect the co-writing of the Dreamer parts of the Son of Kal-El series was for Taylor to do some mentoring on how to write comics with Maines' 2021 DC Pride contribution with a short story about the CW version of the character being a way to get her used to the solo writing process. Nia now, in the main comics, is an outsider in Parthus, an alien sanctuary on Earth almost entirely self-sufficient and off the grid from human society, deplorably othered by her fellow aliens due to Nia's transness. Nia made this tweak to how Nia is treated in Parthus different from how it was portrayed in the Supergirl TV show to represent how in real life trans people will sometimes take shots from other marginalized people, especially within the LGBTQ community. Nicole wanted to highlight the way that even among diverse communities, transness can often be the last hurdle people can't get over for some reason. Nia's mother, Isabel, is Naltoran, but her father, Paul, is human, and she has a sister, Maeve. Nia is from a line of Naltoran seers, gifts passed from mother to one of her daughters. The powers are inadvertently drawn to Nia, who read the stories of the seers, filling her with a fire, a yearning to be like the seers, inadvertently willing the powers onto herself. This angers her sister, Maeve, who, as a result, is left future-blind, powerless, despite Maeve having trained her whole life for the role of seer and associated powers, and the two are currently estranged. And now Torrent shows up on Earth, killing Nia and Maeve's mum, Isabel, filled with jealousy after seeing how powerful Nia now will become. With her mother and sister gone from her life via different means, and Maeve hoarding the old texts that could assist her, Nia and her father, Paul the human, collaborate to figure out how to interpret Dreamer's dreams and dream lore. For a more comprehensive history of Nicole Maines or Nia Now, please check out the Comic Club YouTube upload that I've done for the Bad Dream, A Dreamer Story by Nicole Maines and Rye Hickman. Harley Quinn, or Harley Quinzel. Originally a creation for the Batman animated series inspired by her original voice actor Arlene Sorkin, former psychiatrist Dr. Harleen Quinzel was a lackey called Harley Quinn and paramour of the Joker. Much like the animated series, in the comics Harley went through a growth arc, realizing her dynamic with Joker is toxic and abusive and throws his bony white butt to the curb, assisted by her best gal pal Pamela Isley, aka Poison Ivy. See the Poison Ivy YouTube Comic Club for more details on the character. Harley in the comics is a bisexual in a semi-polyamorous, non-monogamous relationship with Poison Ivy. Harley has no actual powers, is just good with a hammer, a quirky personality, and some gymnastics, and has transitioned from villain to anti-hero over 3 decades, headlining multiple ongoing solo series and a part of a plethora of team books as part of Suicide Squad, Gotham City Sirens, the Bat Fam, and even the Justice League. Harley's been adapted in a lot of media, including being frequently voiced by Tara Strong, but my favorite versions are almost always those that lean more heavily on her psychiatry background. For a more in-depth bio on Harley, check out the Eto comic cast for Tom Taylor's Suicide Squad and Harley Quinn Eat Bang Kill Tour comic casts, or the DC Pride 2022 and Poison Ivy comic clubs, all on YouTube. Simply put, we've done a lot of Harley Quinn content. Laurie Zeklin, aka Black Alice, is a Gail Simone creation first introduced in 2005's Birds of Prey, issue 76. On the same day that her mother unalives herself by overdosing on drugs, Laurie discovers that she has the mystical ability to borrow the magical powers of other superheroes or supervillains regardless of how powerful they are, leaving her targets powerless in turn, while the maximum range of her ability is unknown, potentially limitless. Additionally, her clothes and appearance change to reflect attributes of the person whose powers she's taken. Laurie, taking the name Black Alice, formulates a plan to avenge her mother's death and punish the prescription drug traffickers. Following his wife's death, Laurie's father becomes depressed and reclusive, with Laurie designating herself as his caregiver. Her grades begin to slip and she becomes alienated from her peers. After a couple interactions with the Birds of Prey and Dr. Fate, the secret society of supervillains tries to recruit Laurie by resurrecting her mother. Alice declines and Eve returns home to her parents, but her resurrected mother is left in a permanent state of shock and unable to speak. Distressed by his wife's condition, Laurie's father turns to alcoholism again. Laurie snaps when Oracle reveals that her mood swings are a side effect of the antidepressants she's been taking to restrain herself. In the 2008 run of Secret 6 by Gail Simone, Black Alice convinces Deadshot and Catman that she can join the team by using her powers to take out several cops. She is accepted once she reveals that her father is sick and she needs money. Catman is troubled by the fact that Alice is not disturbed at his actions and easily opts for violence. In the New 52 continuity reboot, Alice's origin is altered. Her power now comes from a demon who inhabited her body when she was seemingly killed in a car crash. She became an orphan in that same car accident. The injuries of the crash would have killed her too, but in her dying moment, she called out to pagan gods and demons, asking to be spared. One of them answered. Though she ultimately survived, she wasn't aware that the price to pay was becoming a vessel to this ill-intentioned demon. That bond is also what gave her the ability of borrowing power from magic users. Hoping that this much power in her hands would lead to catastrophic consequences, the demon found amusement in the irony of a death-worshipping goth girl becoming the very thing she claims to crave most. Post-Rebirth, I don't know which origin is actually canon, though some of the allusions in Secret Six and Suicide Squad Dream Team suggest the latter origin is still canon. Bizarrely, this is one of the first times I've personally encountered when both the pre-52 and post-52 origins, with a heavy backstory retcon, have both been written by the same author and character creator, Gail Simone. John Kent, the son of Superman and Lois Lane, with all of his father's powers, including some 90s specific electricity generation powers, hasn't fully emotionally processed spending the majority of his teen years depowered inside a volcano in an alternate dimension, being held prisoner and taunted by an evil alternate dimension version of his father. John, a bisexual with his boyfriend Jay Nakamura, have toppled a dictator who seized control of Gomorrah called Henry Bendix while working for an online truth-busting video platform called The Truth. John goes by the same codename as his father when fighting crime: Superman. For a more comprehensive bio on John Kent's Superman, see any of the YouTube uploads that this channel has done for the Superman Son of Kal-El comic clubs. Amanda Waller, known as The Wall, first appeared in 1986's Legends Issue 1. A bureaucrat with a distaste for conventional crime fighting, employs more hardline methods, and is an expert tactician and political operator. The character serves as both an ally and antagonist to the superheroes of the DC Universe. Waller is often depicted as a non-powered, high-ranking government official and the leader of Task Force X, known as the Suicide Squad, a secret black ops group composed of supervillains, current or former, undertaking high-risk missions as expendable agents for commuted prison sentences in return, with lethal implanted explosive microchips inside them being detonated if they deviate too far from orders. Additionally, she's also commonly associated with several government agencies such as Checkmate, the Department of Extranormal Operations, or the DEO for short, and Argus. The Suicide Squad have been around since 1959's The Brave and the Bold issue 25, led in the field by Rick Flag, although their backstory wasn't fleshed out properly until the late 80s. Though the roster has changed considerably over the years, some of its best-known members include Rick Flag, Captain Boomerang, Deadshot, King Shark, and Harley Quinn. For a more comprehensive bio on the Suicide Squad, check out the YouTube upload for Edo's Comic Cast recording for Suicide Squad Bad Blood by Tom Taylor. Tying into the main Absolute Powers event in the Absolute Powers Origins miniseries by movie maker John Ridley, who wrote 12 Years a Slave and Ben-Hur, it is revealed that Amanda Waller started to develop hatred for metahumans because a serial criminal known as Candyman sexually assaulted and killed her daughter and husband, in addition to time spent on Earth 3 fighting an evil version of the Justice League, made her jaded and cruel. After her husband dies, killing his daughter's rapist, meaning the life insurance company won't pay out life insurance for somebody who died committing a crime. In her career, Waller campaigned on behalf of Douglas Gravenport, a politician who worked to undermine the social programs on which her family relied, compromising her own beliefs and straining her relationship with her husband. Following her husband's death, she blackmails politicians to climb the political ladder. Amanda Waller has a nephew, Archie Waller, a former Argus agent with mild telepathy who goes by the codename Deadeye. Deadeye is a recent creation, first appearing in 2023's Lazarus Planet, Next Evolution. Amanda's ambition isolated her from her family, and her remaining children and grandchildren want nothing to do with her. Many iterations of Clock King exist, first appearing in 1960's World's Finest Comics. This version goes by the civilian name William Tockman, the same name as the original Clock King. Whether that means they're the same character is a massive question mark. Speaking of question marks, the Riddler in the animated Harley Quinn series was in a relationship with Clock King, the two eventually getting married. As for why the Harley animated series of Riddler married Clock King, well, there's big hands on that clock face, and you know what they say about kings with big hands? Better stick a ring on it. No other version of Clock King, even the comic ones, have been given a romantic love interest, so I don't know if that's exclusive to the show like it is for the Riddler, or if that's accurate for all versions of the character. Most versions of Clock King have little to no powers, mostly having villainous tendencies and using clock-related gadgetry. Fun fact, Barjo of Good Game Spawn Point fame in the Mortal Kombat movie played an actor who was going to play Clock King in that world's universe in a deleted scene of that movie. Action Comics, issue 10,060, The B Story, is co-written by Nicole Maines and Steve Orlando. We'll do a more comprehensive biography on the openly bisexual writer Steve Orlando when we do our Scarlet Witch comic club. The art team is comprehensive and can be seen on this slide. Amanda Waller rocks up at Nia's home in the secret town of Parthus while Jonathan Kent has crashed on Nia's couch after a mission the previous day. A reminder that Parthus is a secret alien refuge where all over the galaxy have gone to live peacefully in quiet. Amanda Waller blackmails Dreamer into a mission to take down another precog called Afterthought, a disgruntled former employee deemed a threat to national security. His precognitive abilities allow him to see 5 seconds into the future. If Dreamer doesn't help Waller, Waller vows to reveal Nia's secret hometown full of illegal extraterrestrial aliens to the world. Dreamer refuses to let John help, as the world needs Superman focused on his own missions, not embroiled in Amanda Waller's covert ops. Afterthought wants to break into and compromise Belle Reve, a prison facility in Louisiana used to incarcerate supervillains and other kinds of metahuman criminals, as it will also compromise the entire national security infrastructure. Belle Reve is also frequently the base for the Suicide Squad and Task Force X. Dreamer acquiesces to Waller's blackmail, not just to protect Pathos, but also to minimize casualties among the prisoners and guards at Belle Reve. While Dreamer outmaneuvers and takes down Afterthought, Afterthought sends his men to take out Waller, but Waller just liquidates them. Waller tells Dr. Hate that Dreamer was always the true target, confirming she will swallow her morals to protect those closest to her, risking her life for criminals she's never met, and Waller believes Dreamer can be controlled. Dr. Hate, also known as Dark Raven, is the demonic half of Raven's soul, which was freed from Raven's soul gem in the Titans comics and became an independent being. If you don't know who Raven is, check out her bio in this channel's Titans YouTube Comic Club upload. Suicide Squad Dream Team Issue 1 recap. The art team includes Eddy Barrows and Eber Ferreira. Before the start of this issue, we see Waller sent Dreamer on a mission stealing a thumb drive from a Senator Gravenport with pictures of children on it that Waller is going to use as blackmail to make significant changes to his voting habits going forward. This is noteworthy given the Senator will pop up in the Suicide Squad issues that we'll be discussing in a bit. The island nation of Gamora has access to some of the most advanced weapons and defense systems in the world. The US believes those systems are under the control of a group of unidentified insurgents. They assume these hostiles took advantage of Gamora's fragile political state following the removal of their previous president, Henry Bendix. Bendix's presidency has devolved into a dictatorship, or had devolved into a dictatorship under Henry Bendix, who had deposed former president Ms. Nakamura that threatened the world with an army of mass-produced metahumans. For the sake of global security, the US has decided that Gamora's resources can't be co-opted by radicals in their mind, and whomever replaces former President Bendix must be someone the United States calls an ally by complying with whatever they stipulate. The Suicide Squad is to take back control of Gamora's defense systems and lower the shield dome, preventing US forces from reaching the Gamoran shoreline. Dreamer takes the Suicide Squad, consisting of Harley Quinn, Bizarro, Deadeye, and Clock King, to Gamora through Dreamland, exiting through a sleeping consciousness within the Gamoran nation to teleport into the Gamoran capital. The dreaming person is killed in the process. With technological communications down, Deadeye's telepathy is how Waller will stay in contact with the group. Black Alice gets angry at Dreamer trying to help the man she killed, pointing out the Suicide Squad are not there to be real good or bad guys, and just a bunch of disposable crooks for the real players to push around. This antagonizes Bizarro, who refuses to accept he isn't a hero, and he busts through the ceiling in a tantrum to prove himself a hero. Black Alice, Deadeye, and Clock King all run after Bizarro. Harley sees Dreamer is in distress and puts on her old psychiatrist hat, listening to Dreamer. This is not the first time, or the first person, that Dreamer feels responsible for killing, discussing the death of her mother back in Bad Dream, A Dreamer Story, and the choices Dreamer made that led to her mother's death. Harley uses a terrible birdwatching analogy to reassure Dreamer that you can't always save everybody, you just have to do your best to save as many folks as you can. This is Harley's one real moment to shine across these 4 issues of Suicide Squad Dream Team. Dreamer catches glimpses in her mirror visions of bad events Waller will inflict, involving a lot of death across the remainder of Suicide Squad Dream Team, into the pages of the DC event book Absolute Power. Nicole Maines said in an interview with Comic Speed, "With Suicide Squad, because I hadn't written a series before, I ran into the problem where I got so excited and I'm like, oh, we're going to do this, and I have all these pages. Oh my God, we're totally going to be able to do it. You always need more pages than you think you do every single time, and that's what I'm realizing. So slowly learning over the course of writing a graphic novel and then the different comic series, less is more." Thoughts on Suicide Squad Dream Team from the Edo community. Jade Sots. Jade has no idea why Dreamer is bound to the chair for any reason other than drama. She's already being blackmailed to comply. Josh's response. Jade has a definite point. Beyond it being a cool panel, if she's shackled to the chair, it doesn't make a ton of sense. I wonder if this was an error that occurred during the editing process, and maybe scenes were being moved around. Ammo's thoughts. Ammo likes Dreamer as a character. Reading Bad Dream, A Dreamer Story helped with that, but struggled to muster any interest in the rest of the posse of characters assembled around her, aside from maybe Harley Quinn. It was nice to see Harley comfort Nia after she accidentally kills the Gamoran guy. Dolphin thoughts. Of course, Sugar, it takes a comic with Harley Quinn to bring Dolphin out of Comic Club retirement. Dolphin is very happy with this Task Force X lineup. Josh's response. With the exception of Deadeye, while there isn't enough pages to give every character a moment in every issue, every character on the squad gets a moment to shine by the end of the 4 issues, I personally felt. Wobbs' thoughts. Wobbs thinks Bizarro is terrifying, and Harley is kind of nice. Wobbs also thought some of the panel layouts were a bit awkward. The art itself was nice, but the pages didn't always flow. Laughing Seal's thoughts. Enjoyable introduction. Somewhat curious what caused Dreamer to start working with Waller in the first place, but their interaction at the start was perfect. Waller is appropriately cold and calculating, although Seal didn't know she had a nephew that she was willing to exploit. Additionally, as usual, the modern interpretation of Harley is best. Seal loves that her immediate response to seeing Dreamer in distress over the sleeping dude was to check she was okay and spend some time helping her. Suicide Squad Dream Team Issue 2 Recap. Bizarro goes on a killing spree on the island nation of Gomorrah, taking the bulk of the Suicide Squad to the mission objective, the control center for the impenetrable dome shield over Gomorrah. Deadeye takes a bullet to the shoulder. Clock King clocks that shedding Gomorran blood was always the point. Dreamer turns on the Suicide Squad, with Harley taking a fairly neutral stance beyond defending herself. With the shield down and Dreamer disappearing after being throttled by Bizarro, Waller comes in, knocks out the Suicide Squad except for Bizarro, who is set to murder Sarah Nakamura, pushing her out the window of a presidential office, reclaimed after Bendix's presidency, finished, falling to her death, her son on the phone line, hearing her demise. We'll circle back to who her son is fairly soon. Waller, assuming Dreamer has done a runner, lets the news out that Pathos exists, with growing public outrage and concern by Americans over the announcement of a secret alien colony, which pro-human organizations are calling a silent invasion, a thinly veiled allegory for the red hat-wearing racists that exist in the real world. The Blue Earth movement have gathered outside Pathos's borders in rural Ohio. Dreamer confronts Waller in Waller's dreams, trying to appeal to Waller's humanity, that being scared of aliens and retaliating with world domination isn't the answer. Waller forces herself awake, unswayed by Dreamer's pleas, pops "Keep awake" pills, and forces Deadeye to start a new mission, ignoring Deadeye's protests. Thoughts from the Eddy community on Suicide Squad Dream Team Issue 2. Jet started getting invested when the control panel shenanigans started. Amel's thoughts. This book has so much plot, it rips through it all at such a dizzying pace, Amel found themselves wishing Maines would slow down and let scenes breathe a bit more. Maines only really gets lighten up the pace when Dreamer confronts Waller inside the dreamscape. Maines makes some attempts to interrogate Waller's motivations, flaws, contradictions in this scene, but Amel found this to be all very forgettable, due to it being much the same as the conversation Dreamer and Waller already had in Issue 1 over the U.S. Senator. Also, R.I.P. Jay's mom, presenting that page through Bizarro's POV was a nice way to heighten the horror. Only one page being spent on Jay's mom's death is brutal, though. See earlier complaint about pacing. Josh's response. Unfortunately, Maines doesn't get to say how many issues she's doing. That's defined by DC editorial and would have a whole bunch of bullet points she has to hit in order to lead into the follow-on Absolute Power event smoothly. Jay's mum, while important to Jay, who isn't even a character in the series, has no connection to anybody in the Suicide Squad, so I'd actually counter that it's a smart move for standalone readers to have the non-powered politician dying at the hands of Bizarro be a quick scene that then future series can deal with the fallout of and expand upon through Jay's POV, where there's time and space to actually deal with it. Golly, Mr. J, Dolphin's thoughts. Dolphin thinks getting to explore Amanda Waller's motivation through her dreams is great for the character and a fantastic use of Dreamer. Wobbs' thoughts. Wobbs has no idea what Dreamer's powers are, and now she's shooting lasers. He also thought they did a pretty good job of setting up Waller's motives. You can almost get on her side. It also does a good job of paralleling the real world without getting too close. Dreamer's powers are about harnessing and reallocating dream energy, which, like in the TV show, can be used in versatile ways depending on plot needs. Laughing Seal's thoughts. This felt a bit slower following the initial battle, but still enjoyable. Seal loves how Dreamer's power set means that it's much harder for Amanda to find, or Seal assumes, explodes her when she has no corporeal form, but then comes with the obvious downside for Dreamer. Oh, and was Waller sending thoughts telepathically at the end, or is calling Deadeye's name enough to get his attention? Suicide Squad Dream Team Issue 3 Recap. The Suicide Squad is sent after Dreamer to bring her in for Waller, delaying Dreamer long enough that the Blue Earth movement can firebomb the school in Pathos like her precognitive dreams warned her. Dreamer takes out the humans and holds her own against the Suicide Squad until Black Alice gets the best of her. Before she's knocked out, Dreamer points out that Waller has been responsible for the dark dreams Dreamer has had for months. Waller's been poisoning public opinion against metahumans, aliens, and heroes, so her absolute power crusade will look justified. The Suicide Squad handed her Gomorrah, which Waller will turn into super prison when Waller takes over the world. When asked asked about the full team of characters outside of Dreamer in a DC blog interview, Nicole Maines hoped to do them justice and not wanting a fan of any of those characters to feel like their obscure favorite did nothing. Nicole said, "It's hard because it is 4 issues, 20 pages, and it's mostly about Dreamer and Amanda Waller. I didn't want it to be a situation where it felt like the rest of the squad become supporting characters. I wanted to give everybody something to do. Everybody wants something. Deadeye, just by being blood relative to Amanda Waller, creates this really interesting dynamic with him being on her Suicide Squad. Bizarro is really cool because, yes, he's on the Suicide Squad, but he's not really a villain, is he? He's how each character does or doesn't push back to an oppressive institution such as Task Force X is cool to explore as it looks different for each squad character." Community thoughts from the Eddy community on Suicide Squad Dream Team 3. Ammo's thoughts. "This issue was much more Almost speed, with the bulk of it taking place in one location, and focusing on the plot of the remaining Suicide Squad members trying to take Dreamer back in. Main's writing is vastly improved as a result, although if Black Alice could neutralize Dreamer's powers just like that, why did she wait until the last page of the issue?" Dolphin's thoughts. Dolphin thinks Harley Quinn slays in her outfit this issue. Dolphin loves this dark version of Dreamer that Waller's actions has created. Jessuts. Dreamer's use of her powers in this issue, leaving unconscious peeps scattered around so Dreamer can do guerrilla tactics, was fun. Wobbs' thoughts. The idea of putting a town to sleep and doing a whole guerrilla war thing is awesome. Wobbs liked seeing the team's motivation and how they're trapped by a Waller. Despite not believing in her ideals, it added a lot of emotional weight to the conflicts. Laughing Seal's thoughts. So no, she didn't want to kill Dreamer. I misunderstood. But yep, still suitably callous for Waller. Also, I know I'm way behind on Poison Ivy and Harley comics, but oh my god, she's teaching? I need to catch up stat. Suicide Squad Dream Team Issue 4 recap with art team Eddy Barrows, Eber, Ferreira, and Adriano Lucas. This issue opens with a splash page of Dreamer at the Suicide Squad's mercy, chained to the floor and ceiling and hanging agonizingly mid-air. It's a stunning, terrifying image, especially with the Hannibal Lecter-like Clock King and the misguided powerhouse Bizarro malevolently watching over her. Beaten, nearly unconscious, and with her powers sapped by Black Alice, it looks like Dreamer's down for the count. Dreamer's goal is to stop Amanda's plan to use Gamora as a prison facility for the Earth's superpowered individuals. Amanda thinks she's saving the world, but Dreamer has foreseen Amanda destroying it, and Dreamer's determined to stop her. Dreamer appeals to Bizarro, who frees Dreamer from her restraints. Dreamer takes her siphon powers back from Black Alice, which easily revert back to Dreamer as Dreamer's abilities aren't magic-based. We learn that Amanda can't control Dreamer any longer as she found a way to remove the bomb in her head without dying. Dreamer blows out the back of the aircraft she's being held captive in, with Bizarro saving the squad from falling to their doom. But while saving Dreamer, Bizarro is taken out, though it's unclear if it's because of a bomb in his head or a sniper shot from Deadshot. I suspect the latter, given how Waller talks to Dreamer. Floyd Lawton, aka Deadshot, was conceptualized by Bob Kane, first appearing in 1950's Batman issue 59, intended as a one-off villain in a tuxedo, top hat, and domino mask. Writer Steve Englehart and Marshall Rogers revived and redesigned Deadshot in 1977's Detective Comics issue 474, where he made his first debut in his iconic assassin outfit, including his wrist-mounted weapons. Floyd Lawton, a mercenary with a death wish who possesses uncanny near-superhuman accuracy and regularly boasts of never missing a shot. Regarded as the greatest marksman and one of the deadliest assassins in the DC universe, Deadshot has come into conflict with various heroes, including Batman, Green Arrow, and the Justice League. The character has also been depicted as an anti-hero as a core member of the Suicide Squad. Floyd has a daughter, Zoe, born from a time spent with a sex worker he frequented, who he endeavors to keep safe. Even Deadshot couldn't protect her from DC editorial, though, as Zoe was deleted from existence in the 2011 DC Universe reboot. He was given a new daughter called Cian. In 2012, Deadshot couldn't protect this daughter from DC editorial either, because after 3 comic appearances, Cian has never been seen after the DC Rebirth correction, although, as a consolation prize, they gave him back his pre-2011 daughter, Zoe. Will Zoe survive the next DC Universe reboot? The odds certainly aren't in her favor, given Deadshot's track record against DC editorial. Floyd Lawton died during Tom Taylor's 2019 Suicide Squad Bad Blood run, which for the longtime Eto community members, the first 6 issues of that run were covered by Blair and friends in a comic cast on their YouTube channel back in 2021. Deadshot came back in a zombie-like shambles in Matthew Rosenberg's 2021 Task Force Z series. Floyd is supposedly a straight man, but since 2009, it's been established that he relentlessly flirts with Catman. It's still unknown to this day if it's outright queer-baiting or if it's Deadshot knowing that Catman has a crush on Deadshot and likes using that to his advantage to keep Catman off balance. I'll let the reader determine what interpretation of that dynamic they think is more accurate. Waller justifies her actions as good people sometimes having to let bad things happen or doing bad things. You don't get things done by playing with Boy Scout rules. Waller points out the world wasn't built for women like Waller or Neonals to succeed, and now after taking shots from men who would rather Waller were dead, she's finally in a place where Waller believes she can change the world for the better. While speaking to Waller, Dreamer has a daydream about knocking Waller through a window to Waller's doom. She then sees through her daydream premonition that this would also kill Paul Nowell and Maeve Nowell, Nia's father and sister, who have been apprehended, sedated, and injected with nanite explosive devices in their craniovertebral junctions to be triggered should Waller's heart monitor flatline. Waller is also able to detonate one or both of the explosive devices remotely and manually through previously established examples in the Suicide Squad project. Amanda had defeated Dreamer before Dreamer even knocked on Amanda's door. Dreamer now forced to work for Amanda Waller if she wants her remaining family to continue living. General discussion and thoughts for Suicide Squad Dream Team. Joshy's thoughts. Every character gets a moment to shine throughout the miniseries, even Clock King, though I'm sure there's folks who would have wanted more moments for each character to shine had the page count allowed. Amanda Waller gets to be a bureaucratic nightmare in the best way possible. Interestingly, it looks like Dreamer's outfit with the plunging neckline and popped collar is exclusive to this Dream Team miniseries. She's gone back to her normal outfit in subsequent runs, although she has kept that brown jacket. In an interview with TillysTransTuesdays.com, Maines talked about how Nia as the trans rep and Brainiac 5, the autistic-coded character, became the kids of the Supergirl CW series, despite being grown adults, and the characters were infantilized and the actors had to campaign for the characters to kiss like actual real adults would. When they found out Season 6 was the final season of Supergirl, Maines went to the writer's room, who she was already on talking terms with as they'd use her as a trans consultant to identify red flags in writing of plotlines for Nia, and told them to get rid of the buttoned-up Mayflower wardrobe look and to let Nia Nowell, aka Dreamer, inside of the show actually show some actual cleavage, given how hard Nicole Maines had worked to get said cleavage. Jade's thoughts. So, is Bizarro dead at the moment, or has he already been revived since his death? Jade's physical copy includes 2 prequel stories, Primal Pain and Squad Dreams, which are unfortunately necessary setup while also feeling all over the place. When issue 1 of Dream Team rolled up, Jade's enjoyment very much increased, despite the comic following characters that Jade cares less for. Jade is here for the character interactions, plot is optional. That might be why she genuinely forgot Black Alice existed for a whole issue, because of the number of characters being juggled. Jade is intrigued by Clock King. Him casually waddling over to the control panel during the chaos of the fight was delightful. Amel's thoughts. The book really ends on a downer with Waller successfully outmaneuvering Dreamer and ensuring her complicity with Waller's future plans. Amel will also admit they were kind of confused having Deadeye and Deadshot on the same issue. Question, what happens to the other members of the Suicide Squad after the plane blows up? Josh's editorial response. Either Black Alice pulls their fat out of the fire, borrowing the powers of Hawkgirl, Bizarro caught everybody else and put them on the ground before Nia, or Black Alice might have also borrowed Zatanna's powers, but then they're all banged up enough by the explosion to pass out once safely on the ground to not immediately intervene in the Dreamer vs. Waller showdown, or they're all red stains on the pavement. Probably the former options, given I can recall seeing Deadeye and Bizarro in absolute power. Black Alice is in the 2025 Secret 6 comic, and Harley's still puttering around in her own solo title. Who knows if anybody saved the Clock King, though he didn't do much to endear himself to any of his teammates. Gee, Mr. J, Dolphin's thoughts. Dolphin says Bizarro, am hero. Dolphy's fave Dream Team panel, the Dreams Die title panel. Dolphy's fave Dream Team cover. For reasons Dolphin doubts, he needs to explain the Sweeney Boo variant of Dream Team issue 2. Wobb's thoughts. Oh, Bizarro, rest easy, my sweet prince. Wobbs really enjoyed this. He didn't really know much about the characters, but he did a great job of showing everyone's motivation, which got him invested. The heavy use of black ink, also interesting. Wobbs thought it gave everything a noir vibe, which couples well with the story's darker undertones and vibe overall. Bizarro's death caught Wobbs off guard and thought the story was paced beautifully, and the full page as the payoff really landed. Laughing Seal's thoughts. Okay, Nicole Maines managed to make Clock King sound badass. She is owed a trophy for making one of the most lame DC characters actually interesting, even if it was about half a second before he got punched in the face by Bizarro. Speaking of which, loved all the Bizarro stuff in this issue. Genuinely heartwarming and sad. Clever plan on Waller's part. Seal had been wondering if the writer was going to make Dreamer win, and if it would feel like she was turning the character closer towards something like a Mary Sue, but that conclusion was so deftly handled, and I am so happy to be wrong about her. I loved Dream Team, and I likely will go on to read Absolute Power, as I did Fear State when I fell into reading that event. I am also going to be seeking out more comics containing Bizarro, because I actually really enjoyed the dynamic he added here, and weirdly has a heart of gold, if sometimes a little rusted around the edges. Jay Nakamura, aka Gossamer, is a Gamoran refugee who is also gay, living in the United States. Jay is almost aggressively single-minded in his pursuit of truth-based journalism and activism. He anonymously ran the underground journalism site called The Truth, hell-bent on exposing lies and corruption for an activist group he led under the codename Gossamer. The word Gossamer refers to the film of cobwebs floating in the air in calm, clear weather. Gossamer accidentally exposed his secret identity on social media in Superman, Son of Kal-El, issue 12. Due to experimentation against his will by Henry Bendix, Jay is also a post-human with artificially created metahuman abilities, able to turn intangible and phase through objects, people, and explosions. He is the boyfriend of John Kent Superman. Lois Lane is his personal hero, and he has aspirational imagery of her on his wall. Gossamer was instrumental in convincing Superman to assist taking down dictator Henry Bendix and reinstating former president and Jay Nakamura's mother, Sarah Nakamura, to presidential power. Yes, the same one that has died in Suicide Squad Dream Team.
A recap of Absolute Power issues 1 to 3. After Dreamer and the Suicide Squad staged that Gamoran coup, aiding and abetting in the assassination of Gamora's democratically elected president, several plotlines across the DC universe converge under a radicalized Waller who has grown to hate metahumans. Waller, having orchestrated the events of Titan's Beast World, which saw Beast Boy turn into a giant starfish, spawning many green starfishes that turned people into animals by sliding down their gullets, followed by releasing advanced AI videos depicting superheroes committing acts of violence and destruction across the globe, succeeds in discrediting superheroes. Waller is given bureaucratic clearance to solve the superpowered being problem permanently. Waller recovered the Brainiac Queen, an AI construct that Superman villain Brainiac created to be his bride. In a virtual reality program where 20 simulated years passed in 20 real-life hours, Waller raised the Brainiac Queen as her own daughter, indoctrinating the Brainiac Queen against superheroes. The Brainiac Queen uses her powers to create a special device that causes powers to be drained from metahumans all across the globe. Waller also gets her hands on Failsafe, an android created by a unhinged backup personality that Batman has, called Batman of Zer-N-R. The Failsafe android is designed to neutralize Batman in case he ever went rogue. The Brainiac Queen transfers additional superpower dampening devices to Failsafe's army of Amazos, which Waller named Task Force 7. Amazos are robots that mimic the powers and abilities of other superheroes. Waller also blackmails the Suicide Squad, Dreamer, and Green Arrow to work for her, hunting down superheroes and rounding up depowered metahumans to store in Gamoran prisons. Waller also, after depowering and capturing John Kent as the Brainiac Queen, wipes John's memories and converts John into a cyborg Superman under Waller and Brainiac Queen's control. In exchange for their non-intervention in Waller's mechanisms and locking down space traffic surrounding the planet, the United Planets, who are in charge of the Green Lantern Corps at this point in time, had Waller track down and capture the Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, lending Waller some of their operatives. To learn more about Hal Jordan, check out the Comic Club on this YouTube channel for Green Lantern War Journal, where that character is talked about just a little bit. After Waller's forces attack the depowered superhero rebellion at the Fortress of Solitude, Dreamer teleports the Resistance to safety before the Fortress of Solitude is blown up with Waller's bombs, Dreamer being destroyed in the explosion. Nightwing manages to strip John Kent of the surface circuitry using a trap, but John is far from recovered. Absolute Power, Super Son. The Amazonians learn on Themyscira that the Brainiac Queen has lodged herself so deep inside John that she's hidden safeguards within his subconscious. As John dreams on the Themysciran operating table, in his dreams, Dreamer is there, helping to Sherpa him away from the Brain Queen's influence, and aids holding him together as the Brain Queen, leaving him, starts shredding John's mind apart. Ultimately, Nia helps John Kent wrestle free from the Brain Queen's control from inside John's head. In the dream, John mentions wishing Dreamer hadn't answered Waller's knock on her door, that the two of them had gotten to enjoy that day in Action Comics 1060, that Dreamer had gotten to show John more of Dreamer's home. John wishes he'd told Dreamer how amazing she was. John wishes he didn't have to say goodbye again. With Brainiac Queen gone and the Amazons in the waking world making progress on John, Dreamer and John stay in the dream world for a while, watching the sunset. Later in the real world, John reunites with Jay, who is glad to hear that Dreamer is dead, who blames Dreamer as the reason his mum is dead. John tries to explain that Waller made both him and Dreamer into monsters, and John's going to fight every day to make up for his part in Waller's schemes. John asks for Jay to forgive Nia, and Jay refuses. On the cusp of a breakup, with John pleading that the two have a fresh start in San Francisco, they are interrupted by Nubia, who needs John's help in the superhero army to take down Waller. To learn more about Nubia on this YouTube channel, there is a video about the DC Pride, the new generation from DC Pride 2022. I suggest go checking that video out. Jay tells John that they're on this path together. Let's do the move, and John responds that he'll message Jay when he is done. A recap of Absolute Power, Issue 4. After Amanda Waller attained absolute power over the world and its people, the heroes fought back and restored their superpowers. Well, mostly. Select heroes now have swapped abilities. The heroes also learn their reality is now cut off from the multiverse. John Kent's constant dreaming of Nia, while under Brainiac Queen's control, meant the dream of Nia lived on, and a dream can't be killed if it's remembered. By not letting Dreamer go, without realizing it, John literally pulled Nia into the dreamscape and gave Nia the chance to rebuild herself, healing in his dreams and waiting for a chance to take down Waller to help win the day. Waller goes on a rant about how she won by manipulating the world to hate metahumans. Nightwing has a superhero he's mentoring record Waller and broadcast her speech to the world, changing public perception. Dreamer erases Waller's memories of the hero's identities, as well as any other intel Waller could ever weaponize, and leaves Waller alone in her cell in Belle Reve. Now without Amanda's bank of superhero intel to use as leverage, Amanda is vulnerable with no shortage of people wanting to take her out. And I don't mean in the dating way. Thomas Blake, also known as Catman, first appeared in 1963's Detective Comics issue 311, created by Bill Finger and Jim Mooney. Thomas Blake was a world-famous hunter who turned to crime because he had grown bored with the job and squandered most of his money. Thomas Blake became a burglar who committed his crimes in a catsuit made of ancient African cloth and modelled after Catwoman's disguise. Catwoman was none too pleased to have her modus operandi copied, which resulted in Catwoman being wrongly implicated in Catman's crimes at least once, so she initially helped Batman against him. As with many Batman villains in their earliest appearances, Catman was originally a gimmick villain who stole cat-themed items. His weapons of choice were steel, claw-tipped gloves, and the razor-edged Catarang. In an Batman Legends of the Dark Knight issues 46 to 49 arc called Heat, a now non-canon Batman story, a deeply disturbing version of Catman, far removed from the hokey Silver Age version of the character, was depicted as a serial killer who targets, murders, and permanently scars beautiful women with his claws because of deep-seated childhood trauma from when his mother abused him and locked him in a closet. After being arrested and locked up, this version of Thomas Blake is never seen again. When next Catman rocks up, it's in the early 2000s Green Arrow Comics as a semi-retired, out-of-shape supervillain, recently released from prison, with dyed hair as well. See just under the Catman name on this particular slide. Then the character went largely unused again until 2005 in the miniseries Villains United, when Gail Simone recruited him to her Secret Six. Catman resurfaced in Africa, where he attempted to re-salvage his life and began living with a pride of lions. He used this time to lose weight and regain his sense of self-worth and fighting skills. Catman's actual abilities are that of an Olympic-level athlete, skilled in hand-to-hand combat and bladed weapons, is a superb hunter and observant tracker with an extraordinary sense of smell. Under writer Gail Simone, Catman is depicted as an anti-hero with a sense of humor. This depiction of Catman is different from most other Batman villains, in the sense that he has noble and heroic qualities. While Shesha notes that Blake behaves more like a hero than a villain, he sees heroes such as the Justice League as being arrogant and abusive of their power. He also has a son with the supervillain Shesha, called Thomas Jr. When Thomas Jr. is kidnapped, Catman goes on a murderous rampage, believing the child to already be dead, only to find the man who orchestrated the kidnapping has given the boy to a loving, childless couple, and the kidnapping itself, was an act of revenge against Shesha for murdering the kidnapper's family. Catman, after realizing Thomas Jr. is better left where he is, informs Shesha that their son is dead. This sends her into a sorrowful rage, while Catman mourns his son being dead to him for his son's protection after having slaughtered the kidnappers involved. Post-2011, Gail Simone wrote Catman to be bisexual, confirmed in the first issue of Volume 4 of Secret Six, when Thomas Blake is seen flirting with both a man and a woman. DC's Catman has no official correlation with the Catman voiced by Adam West in the Fairly Odd Parents, the Nickelodeon animated series, as a Batman parody, though one can't help but hypothesize it's intentional given the Nickelodeon character and the DC character's color schemes match. Now for the 2025 run of Secret Six by Nicole Maines, Issue 1 recap. So the Secret Six is a team that's gone through several different lineups. Originally in 1968, they were a group of adventurers blackmailed into working together by their mysterious leader, the Mockingbird, a title held by whomever is the leader of the Secret Six group. Mockingbird has been August Durant, Carlo de Rienzi, Lex Luthor, Amanda Waller, and most recently, Edward Nygma, aka the Riddler. This iteration of Secret Six broke from convention by not having a Mockingbird. In the 2005 Villains United miniseries written by Gail Simone, the Secret Six lineup shifted to consist mainly of villainous characters who undertake missions of dubious and moral quality that often result in a high body count of those who are murdered, not those who are fornicated with. Gale went on to write the 2006 Secret Six Limited series, the 2008 ongoing that went till the DC Universe reboot in 2011, and Gale wrote the new 52 Secret Six ongoing series in 2014. In total, Gale has written more than 50 issues, with the title Secret Six on the comic cover, with additional stories with the team across various other books. Gale's Secret Six comics consistently had Catman and Deadshot on the team, and Harley was a member back in the 2006 miniseries. Other prominent members not relevant to the run we're discussing, but maybe names that you've heard of include Cheshire, Bane, the Mad Hatter, Scandal Savage, and even a Parademon. One of their biggest enemies was Dr. Psycho, a name that Harley Quinn animated show viewers may recognize. In 2018, an executive producer from USA's Suits was attached to write and produce a Secret Six TV series with Bill Lawrence's Doozer Productions of Scrubs, Shrinking, and to Ted Lasso fame for CBS. No production updates were provided after its reveal, though, so I think it's safe to assume it's long dead. Paul Kaminski, group editor at DC Comics, and Andrea Scheer, editor for DC Comics, are responsible for mains working on Secret Six. Andrea Scheer, who is in charge of all the DC Pride initiatives, and Paul pitched Secret Six to mains at a Comic-Con, saying that Paul and Mark Waid had an idea and thought mains should write Secret Six. Anyway, at Belle Reve Federal Penitentiary, Louisiana, Amanda Waller's former base of operations, John Kent Superman takes down Bizarro, who was an Amanda Waller prototype for hooking a superperson up to the Brainiac Queen technology to be controlled by Amanda. John Kent, having been freed from that fate, is internally processing the PTSD of having his autonomy stolen and his body used to attack his friends and allies. Meanwhile, fractures have started forming in John and Jay's relationship following the death of Jay's mother, who Jay considers Dreamer to have been largely responsible for co-murdering along with Amanda Waller. John considers Dreamer a terrorist, irrespective of the good things that she did for John. Meanwhile, in Pathos, Ohio, Dreamer's positive dream about gender-affirming surgery takes a dark turn as manifestations of guilt intrude and attempt to kill her on the surgery table. Dreamer, learning Waller has gone missing, recruits John and Jay, much to Jay's annoyance. As the trio bicker amongst each other, they stumble on Black Alice's cell, and she fills them in on some of the particulars of what Dreamer did during the Suicide Squad Dream Team comic run. When guards start opening fire for an unexplained reason, with Black Alice seemingly the only lead for Waller's location, and Dreamer possibly hit by bullets, Dreamer teleports John, Jay, Black Alice, and herself through Catman's dreams, landing in a pile next to an unconscious, bloody Catman, as well as a startled, annoyed Deadshot. In an interview with Newsarama, Nicole Main spoke regarding the main trio's status heading into this issue. John is, as ever, the super son. He is determined that things are normal, things are fine, we are back at it. With Nia, I'd say that we see her struggling in a new way. But this girl has been so neck-deep in trauma for years, she's exactly where she has always been. Still awful, still hurting her guts out, because she just can't get a win. And Jay is starting to spiral down into this, typhoon of anger and grief, and a need for vengeance and justice in a way that is very concerning to his boyfriend. Thoughts on Secret Six, Issue 1. Jade thoughts. Jade assumes this answers her questions about whether Bizarro walked off his death if Jean is taking him on. Amel's thoughts. Reading this issue, Amel's mind was cast back to Tom Taylor's son, Superman, son of Kal-El, that was covered in a comic club last year. Amel found both John and Jay to be very flat and one-dimensional in that particular book, so it was nice to see Main's attempt to give those boys some extra depth. Jay in particular gets to be quite abrasive and mean to Nia, justifiably so. His mom just died, and it's perhaps the most interesting Amel has been so far in reading the story with Jay in it. Dolphin thoughts. Dolphin loves a new team. Dolphin does hope Nia and Jay can solve their differences of dead and kidnapping parents. Wobbs' thoughts. Wobbs doesn't like it when characters he likes doesn't get along, so he was bummed to see Jay and Dreamer not getting along, though he gets it. Deadshot's appearance at the end confused him a bit, and he had to flick back through to find where he came in. Oh, Laughing Seal's thoughts. Okay, it feels so weird jumping ahead to see after the main story of Absolute Power. Glad they recap it, although as needed, this still feels way smoother than one we did. War Games, which makes sense given War Games Comic Club was following specific character arcs versus a full story. Love to see, though, that John and Jay are still a cute, loving couple. Mostly. Secret 6, Issue 2 recap. The gang's all here. Dreamer has a bad dream that Amanda Waller regains all her memories. John questions why Deadshot is posing as a prison guard and what Deadshot injected into Dreamer. Black Alice continues winding up Jay Nakamura. A multi-way fight breaks out. Deadshot armed with synthetic kryptonite capsules versus Superman. Black Alice vs. Jay, both with unprocessed parental baggage. Deadshot vs. Black Alice. Catman rises from the dead and knifes Deadshot to the back of the head, who also returns from the dead. Dreamer wakes up John, and Jay argues over Dreamer again. Jay obsessed and angry about Nia's culpability in his mum's murder and John's apparent snooping in the previous issue. Dreamer tells John she needs to speak to Jay alone. Dreamer discloses that she hates Waller too, as Waller ruined Dreamer's life. Jay tells her that he doesn't hate just Waller, he hates Dreamer, considering her selfish and careless for choosing what was best for her in a crummy hand she was dealt, and over John siding with Nia instead of Jay. Nia tells Jay that she could have killed Waller at the end of the Absolute Power comics. She didn't because it wasn't her trigger to pull. Deadshot has found intel that Waller was taken by a group called Checkmate, a former top-secret intelligence agency Waller used to be the leader of, though it was rumored to be destroyed a few years ago. The rumor is some of their former spies are trying to get back on top and plan to restore Waller's memories to do it, and they'll kill Waller if she's useless to them. Deadshot vows he needs Waller to remember her memories before Checkmate kill her. Dreamer in another room vows she and Jay need to kill Waller before her memories return, a potentially insurmountable crossroads that the 6 main players of this story will clash over. Thoughts on Secret 6, Issue 2? J'ai liked how this issue handled flipping back and forth between the two conversations. Ramo's thoughts. Catman and Deadshot flirting and killing each other is probably the most fun part of this issue. I'm always a sucker for a bit of toxic yaoi. Would not be surprised to find out Maines messes around with that particular gag on AO3. Laughing Seal's thoughts. This issue went from being real annoying to being really great halfway through. Everything about the opening fights and Jay being a self-centered so-and-so who couldn't see past his own trauma and self-pity was really getting on Laughing Seal's nerves. But once the characters actually started talking it out like normal people, Laughing Seal loved the ticking clock they introduced of this unknowingly divided group working against each other. Also, are Deadshot and Catman gay? What was the deal with all the homoeroticism? Was it just vibes from Deadshot, or is there some background info I'm missing? See Josh's biographies for Catman the bisexual and Deadshot the straight, where it's left open to interpretation if Deadshot is actually vibing with Catman, or Deadshot just knows that Catman is vibing with Deadshot and is villainously twisting the screws of Catman by flirting with him. Dolphin's thoughts. Dolphin says, damn it, could Waller just be silly for a little longer? Dolphin always loves a good Catman appearance. Wobbs' thoughts. Wobbs loves competent characters, especially villains. So seeing Deadshot calmly give John a kryptonite-powered uppercut was fantastic. Why should that level of prep be reserved for Batman? Wobbs found Jay frustrating, but likes that because it's complex and people in grief situations are usually difficult to deal with. Secret 6, Issue 3 recap. In the club. A senator named Doug Gravenport, calling for Amanda Waller to be put on trial while downplaying that anybody else was involved in Waller's power grab at a bureaucratic level, is invited by Checkmate to attend a club called Checkmate and meet the Bishop. Through sewers, the Secret Six secretly sneak successfully, infiltrating a known Washington, D.C. hotspot for the criminally rich and morally bankrupt for clues. Deadshot informs John that doing things like a superhero does will just cause chaos, death, and for Checkmate to go dark and relocate Waller, hence the reason for the sneaky sneak approach. Black Alice's magics up some couture disguises for the group. The senator and the fellow politicians were politically involved with Amanda against the advisement of Checkmate, the politicians keen to enrich themselves off another genocide. We learn that Deadshot needs Waller alive, as she's the only one who knows where 2 women are that can keep Deadshot alive. Deadshot also refers to having gotten Scandal Savage, Vandal Savage's daughter, and former Secret Six member, a Get Out of Hell free card, an event from the previous Gail Simone Secret Six run, and the card was also the pivotal MacGuffin in the animated Suicide Squad Hell to Pay movie. Jay tells John that Nia was the one who erased Waller's mind, John disapproving as memory erasure is unhero-like, though there's Justice League stories that would beg to differ. There was one about the League getting Zatanna to mind wipe the rapist villain Dr. Light, and when Batman learns what they did, they erase his memory too. Jay also tells John that Nia tried to recruit Jay to plan to kill Waller. John thinks Nia is better than that, but Black Alice, listening in, thinks John is pretentious and being awfully judgy for somebody born into omnipotent goodness with an insignia on his chest that will let people overlook when John makes mistakes. John shocks Nia by saying he doesn't believe Nia is doing the correct thing because Dreamer keeps making everything worse. The two of them at a table alone, Black Alice twigs that Dreamer has a crush on John. Black Alice doesn't think Dreamer is a bad person. She was forced into a zero-sum game with zero chance of winning, and it's not fair to hold Dreamer to a hero's definition of goodness when everyone else has already decided that Black Alice and Nia are bad guys. Black Alice thinks killing Waller is the first good idea she's heard Dreamer have. The senator, dismissed by the club manager working for Checkmate, is recognized as somebody who Dreamer had stolen illicit material from on Amanda Waller's behalf for blackmail purposes. Breaking the team's cover, they learn everybody in the club has a gun, and that the manager for Checkmate's club, who smashes Catman's face directly into the floor, is none other than a character called Banshee. Banshee aesthetically resembles the Superman villain Silver Banshee a lot, but they are different characters, and there's no relation to the Marvel version of Banshee either. Banshee, aka Jeanette, first appeared in Gail Simone and Nicole Scott's 2009's Secret Six run, a Banshee born in the 1500s, a socialite and murderous bisexual who has previously engaged in frequent coitus with Deadshot and whose powers include transformation between human and Banshee forms, extended lifespan, superhuman strength and durability, accelerated healing, is able to sense death before it occurs, and is most iconically equipped with the sonic scream. Outside of Secret Six comics, Banshee has appeared in single issues of Catwoman and Plastic Man, DC's 2025 Batman Smells Robin Laid an Egg one-shot, and DC Pride's 2021 anthology comic. Secret Six Issue 3 General Community Thoughts. Joshy's thoughts. A lot of panels with close-ups of eyes at the bottom of the page. Not a bad aesthetic choice, just an interesting artistic theme running throughout the issue. Jitsuts! The readers have reached the dressing up in alternate costumes part of the series. Amel's thoughts. Damn, Black Alice sure knew what she was doing when she put Catman in that outfit. Dolphin's thoughts. Dolphin loves a good costume change. Fancy pants! Laughing Seal's thoughts. Seal feels like Black Alice might have meant hideous instead of cool. The only ones who actually came out looking suave or cool was Black Alice herself. Deadshot almost made it, but then the corset across his stomach and the black sleeves sewn into a brown suit look gosh awful as an outfit. Also, oh my gosh, Jay, stop being such a petty person for 5 minutes, please. Honestly, will not be surprised at this rate if he becomes a villain going forward, given what he's like at the moment, particularly with how manipulative he seemed over John in this issue. Let him go, John. At this rate, you can easily do much better. On the upside, love the other bits of banter in this issue. Learning more about Deadshot and Catman's situationship. Dreamer's weird heart-to-heart with Black Alice. The unpeeling of who exactly was Bishop. It did feel, though, like Dreamer had to take a couple of silly pills to forget they were meant to be covert, so that was annoying and out of character for her, I felt. On second thought, having had more time, I do feel that Dreamer's alternate couture outfit also was pretty good too. Wubbs' thoughts. Seeing the senator come into it, even in a superficial way, was a nice way of tying the different runs of Suicide Squad, Dream Team, and Secret Six, the 2025 run, together. Wubbs also loved the outfit change and realized he had a crush on every individual member of the Secret Six. Maybe Wubbs gets crushes on fictional characters too easily. Secret Six, Issue 4 Recap. Sins of the Past. Banshee's hallucinogenic sonic scream has the heroes clutching their ears and strips Black Alice's disguise magic away, revealing the Secret Six's super suits. While screaming, she recounts her death over 400 years ago. Banshee, that is. John manages to hold off passing out, superflying with Catman in his arms at super speed to safety, the two passing out upon impact from the scream's effects. Jay faces through the floor to avoid being knocked out. The other half of the Secret Six are knocked out and thrown in a truck for transport, and Banshee, overexerting herself, passes out. Also, don't ask me why the supposedly hetero Deadshot is holding a dead Catman in a lover's embrace. Their dynamic has been like this since Gail Simone's Secret Six run in 2009. The rumor is Gail's tried to set up a lot of same-sex couplings in comics of the years, only for editorial to stop any carry through. Another example being Barbara Gordon and Black Canary during her Birds of Prey run, allegedly. There should be an image somewhere on the slide of those two, also in a slightly drowned lover's embrace. Catman tells John to tone down the martyrdom when they're both awake again, reassuring John that he didn't abandon anybody. He made sure the whole team didn't go down at the same time, and is honestly surprised at John's pragmatism, which John admits he only did as Dreamer told John to, via dream messaging. Catman is adamant to John that the only reason he's going back with John in the Catmobile to track Checkmate and save the Secret Six is to watch Floyd Lawton put a bullet in Amanda Waller's head, saying Deadshot owes Catman after what happened in Madagascar. Long story short, Deadman shot Catman down on behalf of Amanda Waller without a second's thought. After Catman had saved Deadshot from a mission gone wrong in Madagascar. In Catman's words, the reason he went on that mission: "I thought it was only out of love for the Six that I had gone in to save him. Truth is, the Six had nothing to do with it." Catman makes it clear they are only ever teammates, a very efficient one, a great tracker, and great assassin duo. Yes, what duo doesn't love sticking things in each other? The issue ends with Jay learning that the US government was fully aware that Amanda Waller planned on invading Jay's home nation, Gomorrah. General community thoughts on Secret Sex, issue 4. J'ai thoughts, is the correct response to Catman identifying his car as the Catmobile. Ammo's thoughts. Banshee unleashing her powers on the gang is cool, but the best part of this issue was the flashback scene with Catman and Deadshot. Ammo was almost fully invested in this pairing. Dolphin says Catman is ever so courteous. Oh, please don't slip in the blood. Love and Seal's thoughts. Great issue. Jay continues to be bitter, but thankfully has literally no one to be bratty to. Meanwhile, we get some compelling drama and backstory to Catman and Deadshot's deal. Just a well-rounded issue all in all. Wobbs' thoughts. Wobbs doesn't know if Catman and Deadshot are a couple, but he hopes they work it out. He also liked the reveal at the end. There's always a question when the big bad has an army of goons. Where did they all come from? The reveal answered that while also deepening the plot. Secret Sex, issue 5 recap. Monsters, all of us. Dreamer refuses Banshee's offers to remove the wards she placed around Waller's mind in order for Checkmate to use their headset to extract Waller's secret and Waller be delivered to federal court for a guilty verdict. Dreamer also has premonitions that John is going to steep himself in blood, trying to get revenge for Gamora's demise. While Black Alice harnesses the strength of Athena, Dreamer and Deadshot bust Waller out of her cell to get her away from Checkmate. Waller swipes a gun from Deadshot's leg holster and shoots him through the other leg. Running through the doors, she stumbles on the horror show of a bloodied Jay Nakamura, surrounded by the bodies of Checkmate soldiers also coated in blood. Jay has learnt that the American government brought in expert analysis to weigh the pros and cons of trampling Gomorrah or another country. Endless pages of risk versus reward, talking about the Gomorrans like they aren't even people, just numbers on a chart, a resource to be consumed, and Gomorrah wasn't even their first choice. The United States accounted and budgeted for every bullet, ship, and piece of military equipment that Waller used to destroy Jay's country. Dreamer talks Jay down from shooting Waller on the spot, pointing out between her memories and the documents Jay has secured, there's more than enough to expose the truth. Jay agrees and sticks the memory machine on Waller. Waller threatens them with finding and torturing their families, and Jay chillingly responds, "Don't you remember? You already killed my family." General community thoughts for Secret Sex, issue 5. J'ai thoughts, bravo, Jay is on a path of no return. Ammo's thoughts. Ammo likes that Mines is interested in letting Dreamer, Jay, etc. make very questionable moral decisions in the name of justice. Some of these big swings land better than others. Jay apparently slaughtering a whole room of guards seems a bit too far out of character for him. Yes, he has just unraveled a very big government conspiracy, and you could argue that he's blinded by rage and still grieving his mom, but isn't he also a journalist? He should be somewhat used to unraveling conspiracies. Jay and Nia teaming up to wipe Amanda's memory, though, that made more sense for their characters. Dolphin's thoughts. Dolphin really wanted Jay to shoot Amanda Waller again, just to erase her memories again. But sure, the helmet works too. Laughing Seal's thoughts. Interesting issue. Banshee's plan was clever if a little predictable, as Deadshot pointed out, but at least the comic is self-aware. Honestly, though, Seal will be so weirded out if they somehow treat Jay as redeemable after that room full of US soldiers being killed on top of his general brattiness and manipulation of John back in issue 3. Although that was one hell of a mic, or rather helmet drop, from him with that line about, "Don't you remember, you already killed my family." Wobbs' thoughts. Black Alice plus Athena equals pure cinema. Wobbs thinks the artist has done a great job with the character design for these pages. It's still obviously Black Alice, but with a whole new level of power. The moment when Dreamer jumps in front of Waller and says, "We can kill her, but I think we can do better," was great. Secret Sex, issue 6. Who needs friends anyway? Dreamer has extracted all of Waller's secrets onto a thumb drive with no backup, and Waller's mind has been left a complete blank slate. After Deadshot escorts Waller outside to safety, Jay holds Dreamer at gunpoint for the thumb drive, pointing out that Jay and Dreamer haven't been friends for a while. Dreamer and Jay get into a no-holds-barred fight. Black Alice takes on Banshee, Checkmate and the US military until Athena looks down on the battle and takes back the power Black Alice stole from Athena. Catman, seeing Deadshot escorting Waller, fights Deadshot over how Deadshot picks Waller again and again over Catman, until Waller politely tries to keep Catman from hurting Deadshot, her uncharacteristic behavior breaking Catman out of his blood rage. John Kent, after a philosophical debate with Catman about whether good and evil is black and white, breaks up the Dreamer and Jay fight, noticing that Jay is covered in blood on his suit that doesn't belong to either Jay or Nia. Jay informs John that the US paid to turn John into a state-sanctioned monster. Jay proposes tearing the entire United States of America down and building something new. John asks Jay not to let his pain control him, and Jay is angered by John trying to tell Jay about his pain and how to manage it. John points out that Jay is asking him to overthrow an entire country, with Jay retorting that they've done it before, taking down the dictatorship of Henry Bendix and Gamora, that John only thinks it's different this time because it's his homeland. The battlefield isn't halfway across the world, where John doesn't have to look at it. Jay walks straight through John in tears, saying that John Kent Superman isn't who Jay thought. Jay uses his abilities to teleport in sadness, saying, "Goodbye, Superman, I don't believe in you anymore." Meanwhile, John Kent, in that moment, experiences his first true romantic breakup. Everything he was fighting for, gone. John doesn't care about Checkmate, Amanda, any of it. John was fighting so hard to get back to normal after the events of Absolute Power, but there was no normal to return to. John thinks that maybe pain and heartbreak is the norm, that resistance was always futile, and that John was just the last to know it. Secret Sex, general community discussion and overall thoughts. Jade thoughts. Now the readers are feeling sympathy for Waller. The tables sure are turning. Jade preferred the art in this volume to the art that was in Suicide Squad Dream Team. Despite the eyes sometimes getting a bit big and manga-inspired, the artist really captured Dreamer's powers. The story loops in Jean and Jay, which Jade enjoyed seeing again, although she had that sinking feeling immediately because couples just can't be happy in comics. There's just got to be drama. In this case, it's understandable drama, but Jade wants everyone to be happy. Black Alice's personality comes out more, and Jade suspected she needs to be toned down for Dream Team, as she sometimes gives Harley Quinn vibes. Amo's thoughts. Oh, damn, just as Amo was getting invested in Jay's story, he disappears from the narrative. Overall, Amo likes it means as a writer seems to be invested in telling stories about queer characters who are deeply flawed, who make mistakes and do questionable things. There's a long history of queer-coded villains, and contemporary writers of queer characters reckoning with this history can sometimes overcorrect and create overly sanitized portrayals of queer people that don't end up feeling very inclusive. Maines should be praised for her efforts to avoid this common pitfall. Mains's writing can suffer a little, however, in terms of inconsistent pacing and overly dense plotting. Secret Six is better paced than Dream Team, though. Amo thinks that Maines would be better served by telling smaller stories focusing on one or two protagonists, rather than these giant team-up comics with limited issue numbers. Josh's response. I do know that following Justice League Dreamgirls, Nicole Maines has said that a solo Dreamer title would be a great next step for the character. That said, she hasn't been asked by DC to do any solo projects that don't involve Dreamer yet, outside of a couple anthology stories, so these team-centric stories might be the only way that Nicole Maines gets to play with other characters besides Dreamer, though it does seem that she has a long-term plan in place for Jay. Hopefully she gets asked to write those plans. There are plenty of times where writers don't get to execute their plans at the big two. What Maines is encountering being asked to almost exclusively write Dreamer is similar to what happens to other minority writers, whether women or a person of color. They can often find themselves pigeonholed at the big two, only being offered projects that match what makes them part of that shared minority group. It's often a struggle for getting anybody who's not a straight white man writing the likes of the main Batman or Superman titles, for example. Dolphin's thoughts. Dolphin asks if a fight is the way to solve people's differences. Anyway, New Team didn't last long, now did it? Dolphy's favorite 2025 Secret Six panel from issue 3, they looked fancy. Dolphy's Pants's fave Secret Six cover is the same as Amo's fave. Me, how? Laughing Seal's thoughts. Seal wrote 2 sets of notes, one during mid-reading of the final issue, one after the final issue had concluded being read. And Joshy will read the ones after having finished both series. This issue reveals the whole miniseries are essentially an excuse to make Jay a new villain for John's comics. Meanwhile, the story at hand suffers because the journey from A to B is neither organic, or at least from the Superman Son of Kal-El comics we read a couple of years ago, in character for Jay. I mean, at least from the Superman Son of Kal-El comics we read a couple of years ago. I mean, I only enjoyed the non-Jay-centric stuff in this series, and all that is left by the wayside here. What a dull thud, in Laughing Shield's opinion, to end on. Shield really disliked the direction the Secret Six ended up going. It's a shame because Seal actually liked 90% of it, just disliked the lens and direction Jay has put on, and squandered the themes they were playing with in relation to the rest of the comic, given how much that plays into the Superman comics, both old and new, based on the end of this, seemingly future issues. This has killed Laughing Shield's desire to read them potentially. Josh's response there is, I will say Taylor's comics did set precedent for Jay to go in this direction. The guy has been pretty radical in his obsession of revealing the truth back in those comics, just not driven to violence, and after an inciting incident of a parent dying, it makes sense that that would escalate. I can also say that currently, neither of the series John Kent is currently in have used Jay Nakamura as a villain. I do know that Maines has a 5-year plan and more that she would like to do with Jay, John, and Dreamer. It's just a question of if DC will continue hiring her to do stories with Jay and John to see that vision out. I doubt they're going full villain with Jay. It'll be more anti-villain with a redemption arc at some point, I'm guessing, but you need a character to hit bottom first, and we may only be at the edge of scraping along Jay's bottom before we start seeing stories where Jay rises up. Wobbs' thoughts. Where did Alice's powers go? Wobbs really didn't get that as they were reading the issue. Jay had some solid points when John confronts him at the end, but what he's proposing isn't that different to what they did in the Son of Superman comics. Wobbs isn't saying they should do it, but he thinks it's the writers trying to say that all conflicts happen in someone's home, and Western nations tend to not take foreign conflicts as seriously. Overall, Wobbs really enjoyed this. Most of the characters were new to him, so there's a sense of discovery he doesn't get when he reads more familiar comics. His one criticism is that he'd like more resolution, but that also just makes an incentive to read the continuation. The outfits also gave Wobbs 80s, 90s vibes, especially Dweemer's jacket, and like any millennial, Wobbs is a sucker for nostalgia. Josh's response, Athena took back those powers with a vengeance from Black Alice. I've been rewatching Merlin recently, so I've been in a similar headspace. Coastal City contributed the little pride flag Nightwings templates that have been used tonight on many of the character slides to indicate various characters' sexual leanings and preferences and orientations. So a massive thanks to the Coastal City for providing that, and the Coastal City can be found on all social media platforms under that particular username, the Coastal City. So go check him out, like and subscribe him. If you liked Suicide Squad Dream Team or Secret Six, the 2025 run, you'll love Gail Simone's Secret Six if you want more adventures with this version of Deadshot and Catman. If you want more trans representation, check out Galaxy the Prettiest Star and its sequel, Galaxy as the World Falls Down by writer Jadzia Axelrod. She is trans in addition to being a writer, and both Jadzia and Nicole Maines co-wrote the 4-part June 2026 Justice League Dreamgirls series, which replaced the anthology book format used for Pride specials by DC from 2021 through 2025. Justice League Dreamgirls builds off the Justice League Intergalactic one-shot and features both Dreamer and Galaxy with plot progression for John Kent too. For more Harley Quinn, I recommend the Tini Howard run with art by Sweeney Boo. For the future adventures of John Kent, there's both select issues of Superman Unlimited and New Titans this year. As of yet, Jay Nakamura has not yet resurfaced since the events of this 2025 series. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment in order to catch additional videos by this channel and explore additional sectors of Marvel Comics, DC Comics, and various indie and graphic novel titles. Other comics this year will include The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, Scarlet Witch by Steve Orlando, the Storm 2024 series, and the Great British Bake Off, or Bump Off, sorry, by Max Sarin and John Allison.